Big bunker here, sloping green, and we're going to look at some random practice. So you should really be varying your practice. So I've got 4 balls. I'm not just going to throw them in because our shots would enter the bunker from different angles, different trajectories, and so we're not always going to have the same lie. We're not going to be in the same place. So what I suggest we do is just throw one in from a height, roll one in round the side of the bunker, one into the face, and one just trickling in. Bit of a downhill slope. So what we're doing is we're randomising the practice, we're testing our skill set, and this is going to tell us a lot about how confident we are adapting, whether we can adapt. Now, something that all these shots are going to require is a good use of the weight shift, and using the GRF board we get a sense of that weight shift, and we get a sense of the pressure we're using to create that weight shift and where that weight is. If I tilt the board to the left, I know my pressure's left. Tilt it to the right, pressure's right. Now in a bunker shot we need pressure left. So I'm left on the board, my body weight's left of centre, and I'm going to stay here. What I'm not going to do is allow my pressure to go this way to rock the board back. So I'm going to stay on the left. And we're going to keep the loft on the face. We're not allowing the face to rotate, so we're using this kind of release here where the wrist is just extending, keeping the loft and the bounce on the club. So it's all about angle of attack. It's all about striking the sand in the right place, and by having the pressure on the left side, body weight left, that's just going to encourage that downward strike with a forward low point. So let's go and have a look here. We've got a downhill lie, downhill green. Fortunately, we've got a bit of green to work with. It's a left to right slope. So first of all, we need to adapt to the slope. We need to adjust our setup. So I'm gonna have to tilt so that to the left. So side bend to the left and try and get the shoulders more parallel to the slope. So we're gonna swing and release into the slope, into the sand at the right point. So we're actually taking the sand from under the ball. We're compressing the sand between the ball and the club face. So we're going to open the club face to get some loft and to use the bounce. So we've got the back edge of the sole that's going to be hitting the sand, and the sand acts like a buffer and it guides the club back out, and this helps to compress the sand between the club face and the ball explodes. So it's all about the thud, the sound, the feel of the impact with the sand. What are you experiencing when you hit the sand? Are you getting the right feeling? This is something we need to explore with our practice. Now, because I'm tilting into a position here where my body weight is really outside my left foot, I can feel the pressure outside my left foot, I've really shifted my body weight, I need a wider stance. So now my body weight is more inside the base of support. Here, my centre of mass is moving so far, I can feel the pressure over here, I'm really unstable. So widen the stance, now my body is more able to adapt, shaft pretty neutral, open the face, tilt, really exaggerate the tilt here, and that's going to allow us to release into the sand. So really happy with that shot, managed to get it lofted out of the bunker, pitching it onto the downslope, left of the flag. So I had a chance there. The green was a bit slower, I probably didn't hit it quite far enough, but I'm happy from a tricky lie where I could be leaving it in the bunker, compounding my error, instead get it out with an opportunity now of holding that putt. We can see the slope, we've got a good idea of what it's going to do, and we can continue with our round without too much stress. So that was the downhill lie. Now we've got a slight uphill lie. Now we've got to be careful that we don't just dig into the sand and take too much sand and swing against the slope. So we're going to swing with the slope, but we still need a descending angle of attack. So we've got to take into consideration the downward angle of the swing. Again, for stability, it's quite a severe slope, wider stance. This is allowing me more movement with the upper body, less manipulation with the arms. An uphill slope, so it's going to encourage a slightly higher launch. Probably not roll as far, but we are on a downhill slope, so that's in our favour. Just going to set up to the left, allow for that left to right slope. Now it's often believed we have to stand open for a bunker shot, but we can stand pretty square or parallel to your intended target, which is the landing spot, which is left of the hole. So instead of just opening the stance to offset an open face, what we do is we drop the hands. Because if we open the face, that points the face to the right. But if we lower the handle, drop the hands, it brings the face back. So now the sweet spot's pointing more towards my intended target. So by lowering the hands, we're ensuring the start line. We don't need to open the stance. Opening the stance can affect things like the angle you're swinging into the sand, and without realising you can be swinging possibly too steep into the sand. In an effort to strike the sand before the ball and take the sand, I often see people so committed to taking the sand that they leave the ball in the sand because they're trying to take too much sand and the angle of attack is too steep and the club just can't get back out of the sand because the leading edge is digging in and they're not using the bounce. So we do need a shallower angle of attack, yet it is on the descent into the sand. So we take the stable stance, adjust the setup with the slope, but maybe not parallel with the slope, okay? Maybe just slightly into the slope. So it encourages a shot into the slope, but not too severe. So picking the spot in front of the ball, face is open, hands are lower, and committing to the shot. And when I say committing to the shot, committing to the picture that we've got. And that's in the mind's eye. Even though I'm here and I'm looking down, I'm very much moving in response to the image that's in my mind's eye. So I'm playing to my mind's eye. And then commit. So again, I'm pretty happy with that. It's a little bit short, but it's holdable range. And that's how we assess the lie, assess the potential outcomes, and adapt our setup and swing accordingly to give us the best chance of getting the ball A, onto the green safely, and B, in a holdable place for the next shot. So the last ball here, it's ever so slightly uphill, and you've got to recognise this. This could be missed, okay? This could be considered flat, but it's not really. So you've got to recognise that. It's slightly uphill. Stance not as wide as before. It's not so severe, this slope. It's almost flat, so it's just wider than shoulder width. Dig the feet in for the stability. Balls forward, opening the face. And again, we want to use the swing weight. Fairly light grip, but just waggle the club. If you want to know how hard to grip the club, just waggle it. Feel now the pressure on the grip. What pressure do you need to waggle that club? Feel movement with the wrists, freedom of motion with the wrists, but control on the club. And that's pretty much what you need to let this swing weight work. Because what's going to swing this club head, what's going to move this swing weight is this side bend and rotation. It's the torso. And where's the power from the torso coming? It's coming from the lower body. There's a pushing action up as we rotate. And we're going to let this action swing the weight up. And then this is the leap of faith. You've got to let the golf club just swing. This is where we let gravity and the swing weight take over and just let it fall and let it accelerate. And then as it's coming towards the ground, this is where we apply the force. This is where we let the side bend throw the club. So we side bend to the left, we side bend to the right, but remember we're still bent forward in a posture. But it's like throwing the ball. If you're never quite sure how it should feel, side arm, underarm throw. Look at the action, the side bend here. This is allowing me to throw the arm freely with power, the necessary power. All we've got to recognise is where this arm goes. And just like throwing a ball, where's the palm? It's up. It's where my ball's going to be going. Where's the club face? It's up. It's where the ball's going to be going. It's not over here. It's not rotated. Otherwise, we've got to negotiate this rotation. It's another element we've got to control. When you've got the wrist hinging in this direction, there's a lot less to go wrong. It's a lot easier to regulate. It's a lot easier to habitualise. So it's time and time again. It's just a pattern you recognise and trust. This is what's going to take the stress out the swing, anxiety out the system. You can commit to that strike point in the sand. You know how it's going to feel. You're going to take that sand, you're going to hear that thud, and you're going to finish in that place that you already know you're going to. So it's kind of just trusting the whole thing and just committing to the swing and the finish. So I'm really happy with that one. Got the line right this time, a bit further left. See the divot, even though it's slightly uphill, got the divot. It's long, flat, use the loft. Happy with the trajectory. Because it's slightly uphill, slightly higher flight, landed a bit softer. Got a good opportunity to hold that, safe par, and get on to the next. So having put ourselves in all these scenarios, essentially this is a gameplay situation and you're practicing it. And you're going to recognise where you're uncomfortable and they're the areas to spend a bit of time in. But don't focus all your practice session on that. It's kind of move around the bunker, play different shots, maybe throw 2 or 3 balls down, try different things. This is the area to experiment. This is a fail-safe playground. Failure is an opportunity to learn. So don't worry about falling, because you just get back on the bike and you go again, and eventually you ride the bike. And that's the same as these shots. Because of the information you've got from the videos, you've now got a train of thought that's going to allow you to explore with different movements, different outcomes, and find what works for you. And ultimately, with this variable practice, you're going to see these potential shots. As soon as you walk into the bunker, you'll be reading the lie, seeing what's possible, and more importantly, you're going to know what swing to make. You're going to know how this swing feels before you even pick up the club. So good luck with your practice, guys. In the comments, let me know if you've got any ideas about other practice games you're playing. Let me know how your practice goes. How do you challenge yourself when you're practicing? What games do you play? What do you find about variable practice? And what areas of your practice ground have you adapted to make it more of a game-like situation? Because that's what we want to do. We want to make this representative of how it is on the golf course. Then you've got a real productive, effective feedback loop that you feed forward into your practice, and you just keep getting better and better and better. The mindset's right, the approach is right, and the skill set's going to evolve from there. So good luck, guys, and let me know how it goes.